truth, freedom, and the super Earth democratic way. 3 tenets that have been staunchly maintained since the early days of established space travel and colonization of distant planets, all in an effort to preserve humanity's ever-increasing prevalence in the galaxy. Sounds good, yeah? I mean, who wouldn't want to spend their golden years on a planet far from our own in relative luxury? There is, however, a catch. A rather large catch. Helldivers 2, a game that was relatively written off as just another PvE title. But when you look beneath the surface, Arrowhead Studios, the game's developer, took that initial concept and turned it on its head. This is Starship Troopers on some serious steroid-induced rage. For 3 months, democracy had been maintained throughout the galaxy, as our bravest warriors gave their all in an effort to stem the tide of malicious alien insects bent on adding us to their buffet options. For 3 months, the Super Earth armies had grown to near 300,000 strong, and growing by the day. If only our US Armed Forces followed the marketing and recruitment campaigns Arrowhead wrote for this game. Yeesh! But, a corporation had other plans. Enter Sony, a company that has been around for what seems like eons at this point. You see, Sony, as a publisher, wanted Arrowhead to have players link their Steam accounts to Sony's PlayStation Network, or PSN for short. Initially, this was optional, as we were led to believe, in order to reach a wider audience worldwide. However, 3 days prior to this recording, on May 3rd, a day that will live in online infamy, Sony effectively forced what was once optional into the land of mandatory. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Well, why don't players just sign up for a PSN account to link up and be done with it? Answer: hard no for a huge reason. You see, there are about 100 countries, give or take, that cannot legally access PSN, let alone Sony at large, either due to said countries' interests conflicting with Sony, or said country's internet infrastructure being so bad, Sony saw no point in allowing access because it may affect their end user count during their quarterly shareholder sessions. Because of this rug pull, Steam, in an effort to stem the tide of backlash, near immediately delisted Helldivers 2 from not only those 100 or so countries that cannot access PSN, but also in additional 70 plus countries, effectively slicing the proverbial carotid and jugular veins 7 ways from hell. However that phrase goes. In any event, Helldivers 2 went from being the biggest cash cow of 2024 to virtually a corner store $2 chuck roast in a deli the health department should have shut down years ago. In response, Johan Pilestedt, CEO of Arrowhead, spearheaded, see what I did there? A negative marketing campaign against Sony's decision, asking players to review bomb Helldivers 2 on its store page on Steam, making clear that he had little to do with Sony's unilateral decision, while acknowledging that more could have been done on his end to mitigate potential damage. In the 2 days that followed, the Helldivers 2 store page had seen near 220,000 negative reviews added, one of which from Asmongold, stating, "Greatly disappointed with the additional forced change of requiring a PSN account in order to play the game. Not only does this force users who are in the many countries to either break the terms of service and risk their entire account, you cannot fake your country of origin, but it also locks those out of playing the game entirely. This forced change by Sony directly contradicts their stated language on their official website that said is an important word here because it's past tense, you would not need to connect to a PSN account to play a game on Steam. This statement on the official website was changed incognito with no announcement or warning. This is because Sony knows that they misled people and changed the words after the fact in the hope that no one noticed. We did. This is a clear and obvious case of false advertisement because the Sony website statements apply to all Sony games, including the ones on Steam, and overrules the individual game's terms of service or rules. Let it be known, you were scammed, and Sony changed the language on you thinking you wouldn't notice because they think you are stupid. Another review from Foxtrot39 reads, "The game itself is great, but the soon-to-be enforced mandatory PSN account link is a disaster. Disclaimer, this is Sony's fault. Sony will collect and sell your Steam analytic data to third-party info brokers quite extensively. Cybersecurity track record with more than 7 major hacks in a decade. Latest data breach by the end of 2023, with over 100 million accounts affected." Don't know the veracity of that statement, but hey, yo. Sony talking about security is quite ironic when you are more prone to be hacked because you have your account linked to them. Multiple countries have no way to even make a PSN account, and using a VPN is a perma-bannable offense, costing your entire Sony game library as it is a terms of service violation. Sony's terms of service is horrendous and intrusive. They're able to log your chat and voice chat without consent and may permaban even over friendly banter if deemed offensive by an AI using an extremely vague definition of, quote, offensive, inappropriate language, end quote. The end user license agreement everyone has signed since launch doesn't even mention PSN requirement at any point, and that's the legal contract everyone signed, likely to be edited by the end of the month to make it so by then. No explicit mention when starting up the game that this would have been a hard requirement at any point beside an easily missed info tab on the storefront. That's the kind of info you would make sure the customers can't miss no matter what when the required service cannot be accessed in nearly all of Africa and Western Europe, Asia. Simply put, mandatory PSN account link is a big red flag. Bad enough to not recommend the game until it's purely optional just because how bad the implications are. Besides, no one likes needing 2 accounts for one game. I don't own a console. I don't plan to own one, and I already have an account with the unique ID this game and profile is linked to via Steam. Long story short, the negativity directed at Sony was so immense in the last couple of days, forced Sony to roll back on their push to make linking a PSN account to a player's Steam account mandatory, leaving linking up optional. This is a huge win for consumers, as it is an open secret that most publishers have no idea what it's like to be a player on a title they sell. All they see are numbers and statistics. This push to make link-ups mandatory only serves to increase the numbers they present to shareholders in an effort to score larger bonuses for them and their C-suite. I may be a casual player of PvE games, but it's refreshing to see a player community so passionate they're willing to slap the ungodly hell out of a corporation to get a message across. That is a win for the community. That is a win for democracy.